How about this? Celebrations for America's 250th birthday are underway right now, and that's that brutal heat wave that's going to coincide along with it as that heat moves to the northeast. Now, hopefully it won't impact too many events, but it is going to be a huge factor. That includes a nice event that we're dealing with. This is going to be fun to watch. It's a very special time capsule that's set to be buried and then dug up again 250 years from now. That's going to be in Philadelphia. Let's bring in right now Chief Congressional Correspondent Chad Pergram. Chad, you are in Washington right now where it's steamy, smoky hot, but you're going to be on the way up to Philadelphia for the 250th and the burying of the time capsule. This is going to be so fun.
Yeah, they're doing this just next to Independence Hall, and they're going to reopen this in 2276. That's just a staggering year to think about. Just the fact that we're talking about 1776 and 2276. That's amazing. There's going to be some members of Congress there. We know that some have written letters that they're going to put inside this time capsule. Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, has written a letter that he's going to put into the time capsule that they'll open up 250 years from now to talk about the national pastime. And it is going to be a scorcher up there. You know, the all-time records in Philadelphia, all-time records are 106, and they're going to be right on the edge of that 105, 106 the next couple of days. But when they were signing and getting the Declaration of Independence ready, 250 years ago, it was just a little bit cooler. And here's why we know that. Thomas Jefferson, he kept uninterrupted weather observations of wind, temperature, barometric pressure from July of 1776, really until just a couple of days before his death in 1826. And I'm going to talk about July 4th, 1776 in a minute here, but July 2nd of 1776 is also very important, and here's why. John Adams, who was kind of Jefferson's rival, he thought that July 2nd should be the day that we should remember because that's the day they all came to an agreement on this. They didn't get around to printing up the Declaration of Independence until the 4th. So on July 2nd, 1776, the weather in Philadelphia at 6 o'clock, according to Thomas Jefferson no less, was 78 degrees. It was 74 at 9 o'clock that night. He liked to take 2 readings per day, so he'd get a colder temperature and then a warmer temperature. On July 4th, he actually has 4 records of that day. It was 68 early in the morning, 74 at 9 o'clock in the morning, 76 at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, very appropriate for 1776, and 73 at 9 o'clock at night. And he kept all of this in an ivory pocketbook that he had and wrote this down in longhand. And sometimes he would put in other notations in his booklet about birds or frost or maybe whether or not he had seen the aurora borealis. Now, I should note, we talk about the extreme weather conditions in Philadelphia in a couple of days. They were kind of going through this mini ice age that lasted until the early 19th century. So those high temperatures in the upper 70s, about 30 degrees cooler, it's going to be a lot hotter than that 250 years on later this weekend. Bob?
You talk about the Battle of Brooklyn, which was that August. There was a nor'easter that brought in a wicked cold air mass, and you don't usually see that this time of year in the Northeast. You wait till October, November for nor'easters, a different type of climate back then.
You know, it's absolutely amazing to me sometimes with history and how it affects politics. You know, there was what was known as the Battle of Bladensburg here in Washington, D.C. That was in 1814. Bladensburg, Maryland is just outside Washington, D.C. This is during the War of 1812, and that's when the British came and burned the Capitol and then burned the White House. And they think they had the equivalent of a tornado or maybe a microburst, but they had this huge downpour that basically put out the fires. And so, you know, weather and politics and history, it all comes together.
That is truly amazing. And what are you looking forward to the most, Chad, when you go up there to see the time capsule? First of all, it has to be a big, big encasement.
Right, exactly. And one of the things that I'm always intrigued by this is, you know, what will people be thinking about in 250 years? Will they even be playing baseball? I've done some research the past couple of days looking into this, and there have been a number of instances where they have tried to dig up time capsules, some from just 50 or 60 years ago, and found nothing. There was a case in New Hampshire just a couple of years ago where they dug the thing up and nothing was there, or something has completely fallen apart, or they couldn't find it. So we'll see if that's going to be the case in 250 years outside of Independence Hall.
Pretty stunning. And we've got every state is going to add something to the capsule itself, right?
Every state is putting something in. And again, there'll be some members of Congress up there the day before. There was an effort here on Capitol Hill. Brendan Boyle is a Democratic congressman from Philadelphia, and he tried to get a resolution through where they would have a joint session of Congress in Philadelphia. You know, they did that, some years ago. It was after 9/11. They met again in New York because that's where they initially met, and they just couldn't get their act together to do that. So that's rather unfortunate. But what happened at Independence Hall some years later, 1783. That's why we have Washington D.C. There was the Pennsylvania Uprising, and somebody, none other than Alexander Hamilton, said we need to create a federal enclave where the Congress and the government is protected. And that began the debate about creating a District of Columbia, which they did in Washington, D.C., just north of George Washington's home, Mount Vernon, kind of as an homage to the father of our country.
Wow. Chad, I could pick your brain for hours. You know it all. I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. And, hey, have fun up there in Philadelphia. It's going to be hot.
And we will try to stay cool.
I was going to say, it's going to be about 102 on Independence Day itself, so stay cool. Thank you, Chad. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Be great.